know that they can see me. Or I don't know if it's doing a countdown. Yes, there we go. Okay, I can see everybody responding now. Sorry for the silence to begin with. Yeah, hi. Welcome to another one of these. No new basics episode this weekend. Not because of any issues or anything like that. It's just a slightly larger episode. It's the last of the Patreon sponsored ones from the last round. But that will be ready to go for next weekend. And I thought, hey, let's do another one of these Q&A streams in the interim to keep things rolling. So this is the second time I've done one of these, and I really couldn't keep up with the chat last time. So I have put the slow mode on this time, and we'll see. Hello, everyone. Hello to New Jersey, to London, and wherever, from Houston, I see there as well. Kentucky. Hello, everyone. So I've got questions here that I called for ahead of time, because you don't know if anybody's going to turn up to these things, so you try and solicit questions in advance. Just questions about me, my Transformers opinions, the channel, the series, and everything else. And I'll bounce back and forth between what I've got here and what's being asked in the chat, if I can. You joined me on a rather rainy Sunday afternoon. Not much else would be going on. Anyway, so just fire straight into it. But I'll tell you what, we'll answer the big one first. The same question that I answered first last time. We'll say it again before anyone asks it, because I'm sure somebody has already and somebody will again. Megatron will be episode 150. And I'm currently working on episode 140. So not too long now until Megatron. I've been thinking about Megatron basically since I announced he would be episode 150. So I hope the episode comes together well, but those big ones are always a challenge. Optimus Prime was... All right, so let's see what's in the old community tab and see what anybody asks. I didn't say it this time, but it's probably going to be a case if I pass over your question in the comments or whatever. If you just ask, are you going to do X character? The answer is almost always yes, eventually, or when I feel like it. There's almost nobody no major character that I wouldn't or couldn't do an episode about. Somebody just asked about Dinobot going past there. People have just, if you ask for, there's nothing I can say. It doesn't make for an interesting answer as part of this, because the answer is when I feel like it. So sorry, not terribly interesting. Let's have a little scroll here. Oh gosh, well, there's a big one to start with. Goes back to something I said in my previous live stream. Daria Sigma asked, you've mentioned that you have ideas on how the TF Wiki is organized and such, and you're not alone in that. If you had your druthers, how would it be organized? Well, that grows out of an answer that I gave before, and I think someone has asked the question again this time. So some part of the inspiration for me to start making this series was because I was experiencing at the time a little bit of frustration with the way TF Wiki was organizing and splitting out characters, and it just occurred to me that it wasn't very new reader friendly, that anybody coming to try and find information about the origins of a character would have to bounce through a load of different disambiguations, and the info was all done in the notes at the bottom because the wiki is fiction first and everything. And so I desire to try and break things down to the simplest for new readers was a big inspiration in making the series, and still is. But in regards to how would you change the wiki or how would you organize it, I don't actually know that there is a better way to do it. I think for a project of that size, that's not a text project of that size, that's not a video project, or not individualized the way mine is, that I'm genuinely not sure that there is a better way to actually do it. I think it would just be, it's breaking things up less maybe would be the answer, but it's purely a case-by-case basis. There's no good answer, and I think the way it's run now is probably the best way it can possibly be done, for good or for worse, honestly. I'll try bouncing back and forth between the comments and the chat. So let's see what's we going on from the chat here. Do you have BotCon 1994 G2 breakdown? Kaizo Zhang asks. No, I do not. I did have the Collectors Club recolor of the Universe Sideswipe mold. Yes, that's right. But I don't have it anymore. I moved it on. This is a silly little question. Transformers has had a real interesting time growing and changing since 1984, says the Mario Star. So my question is, what's some of the strangest lore that you know of? It's probably got to be strangest. I mean, okay, look, the impulse is to say Kiss players, isn't it? And that's pretty strange. But it's also a very easy answer, you know. But a lot of it is probably something from the Japanese side of things. Certainly the last couple of years with the Selects manga and the Legends manga have so been focused on the weird obscurities of continuity, and they've been tying history together first over telling a story with characters. There's some truly, I couldn't even single anything out, and you know, that's been one of the strangest and most exhausting corners of Transformers media in the last in the last couple of years. Someone in the comments there says Kiss Players is more actively disgusting than just strange. Well, yes, but it is also very strange. Just spotted one fly past there as well. Alistair Jr. said, how did you start writing for Ask Vector Prime? Yeah, if some of you don't know, I wrote some of the answers and consulted on a few things for Ask Vector Prime, the Q&A that the Collectors Club did on Facebook. And the answer is simple enough. I know Jim Sorensen, who was working on it. I'm friends with him. I know him through Transformers conventions. We've known each other for several years now, and he asked me to. That was that. As has been mentioned in videos before, my big contribution to Vector Prime, I think, and larger lore beyond that, was that I came up with the idea that Alchemist Prime and Macadam might be Macadam. I always say Macadam. I don't know. That's how I always used to read it. Macadam were the same character. I came up with that, and then Cyberverse went and ran with it. So I came up with that in the shower one day. That Jim didn't ask me anything about that. That idea just popped into my head while I was in the shower and for no reason. And I brought it to Jim and I said, what if we do something like this? This could be fun. And that's how that happened. Let's see. Did you ever want to make or write your own Transformers series? Jesus Serrano asks, or Jesus Serrano perhaps asks. Funnily enough, you know, in following on from an answer like that, where it's that I came up with that particular idea, you know, not really. No, I've said before that I want to be surprised more than anything else, more than dictate the direction that the brand takes. I would rather be surprised by it doing something new that I haven't seen before. So just so I derive more enjoyment from being surprised by the new things that other people do than by imposing my vision onto it. You know, I don't think I have the chops for it either personally. So you know. Do you have any interest in doing a... Oh, that's a good one. Do you have any... Dinobot Kiryu asks, do you have any interest in doing a basics on either the IDW comics tied into the live-action movies, or just one basics about every IDW story that expands on the various me and TF continuities? No, I think... the movie one, actually, you know, people ask sometimes for the basics on the movies, and that one doesn't thrill me, you know, as an idea, because the basics on the movies, for the most part, that's really a real world story of film production. and then Hasbro just sort of make toys about it, and that's about, the design work is done on the film side, on the Paramount side, and the production all happens on the film side, and that's all stuff that's been pretty well documented at the time of the films and on film blogs and everything. And I don't think there's any particularly interesting or unique spin that I could put on it, but I've always thought that, if I ever do any kind of dedicated live action movie episode, the first one I would probably do would be, I did the Allspark already, and I suppose that's live action originated in Barracky. But no, if I was, I always thought like the movie expanded universe about the comics and the books and the cartoon shorts and the various things that tied into it, and the stuff that John Barber did with it. In the comics to tie it all together. I always thought that would be a good one. I haven't got around to doing it yet, but that one seems like that would be fun to do. And I feel like a lot of people haven't been exposed to that. Certainly I found my enjoyment of the films, particularly like Dark of the Moon and the John Barber comics was improved by reading John Barber's comics about them, and then sadly they all went away, and that's a terrible shame, I thought. Sam Dermody just asked there, was it the IDW comics that had Stockade as a main villain? No, that was the Titan magazine's comic from the UK, which was also very good, and I probably would also talk about that there. That was set in an alternate timeline where the Decepticons won the first movie. Megatron got the Allspark and they conquered Earth, and this was this other story. Let's see. Who's your favorite Seeker? I mean, Starscream is a really easy answer again, isn't it? But I'm pretty basic like that. I do like Starscream. There's things I like about all of them. So IDW's treatment of Thundercracker really endeared me to him. Yeah. So, but specifically IDW's Thundercracker, because nothing else has ever done anything with the character. There's a potential there, I think, but they've not got that far with it yet. But who doesn't love a bit of Starscream? Honestly. Let's see, what else? How large is your Transformers collection? I've never counted. I do have one. I've said before, I can't really show it off because it's all stored in, you can see the lumps of it just there. It's all on purpose-built shelves of convenience. They're not really display shelves. That you can see from these sloping ceilings. I'm in an attic room here, and it's not tall enough to really have detolfs. Doesn't have the space for it. So it's not set up to show off. Certainly hundreds, thousands, I don't know. I've genuinely never counted, and to be honest, I think if I did, I might have to reevaluate my life choices. So we'll keep it vague. Soundblaster 1987 asks, what happened to the art of Transformers? Yeah, several people ask about the art of Transformers. It's I'm not going to say I'm not going to do it. It just I just sort of drifted away from it. I'll probably get back to it one day. I haven't, considered it canceled or over or finished, and I'm not doing it again or anything. I just I'll get back to it. One of these days I will. It was only ever intended to cover the G1 cartoon anyway. So there were only another 1 or 2 episodes in it anyway. Someone's very intently asking in the comments, when the basics on me? And I don't know. I feel like this is the basics on me. This is my opinions. This is the stuff, I don't know what the basics on me would even be, that this is your opportunity to ask those questions that you want to know the answers to about me or my opinions or whatever. So yeah, you can consider these live streams to be the basics on Chris McFeely if you want to. I think that's how I consider them anyway. Let's have another look here. Which potential characters or topics for the basics are absolutely off limits? I don't think anybody's off limits. Or that comes from Flesh Human, an absolutely totally genuine real human person sent that question. He has flesh like humans do. That's how we know. Yeah, I don't think any characters or topics are truly off limits. People always assume Kiss Players is off limits. No, I'll do an episode about that one of these days. Sure, I just have to work up the fortitude for it. people ask things like about the Brave series or Death's Head, which are like tangentially related to Transformers. No, I've always considered those to be well within the scope of the series. I just haven't. I can't do Brave because I've never watched any Brave, and I always have the first hand. I won't like write an article based off of a wiki write-up or someone else's write-up. I have to go back to the original text, the original show, the original comic, whatever, before I'll do a thing about it. And I would have to watch all of Brave to do that. So maybe one of these days. But I did just have to finish watching an entire series this past week to make this episode that's coming up next week. You can wait to see what that was. but yeah, no, I won't make an episode about something if I don't have first-hand knowledge of it. So same with Death's Head, although I've read a lot of Death's Head, I haven't read all of Death's Head. I haven't read his original series from back when. And I need to read that before I can actually make an episode about him. But I can't think of anything that I would consider off limits. There's certainly topics that I would consider maybe boring or ones that I simply haven't done yet because I consider it challenging to write. The aligned continuity is quite a popular request, and that one is one where I'm like, where do I begin with this? And then I think about, one shouldn't, because obviously the point of the series is to be informative. But with something like the aligned continuity or Kiss Players, my mind already leaps ahead to the comment sections, and the comment section will just be people being miserable. And I'm like, go have a bit of joy in your life and be here to enjoy and celebrate the stuff the video is about instead of complaining about it, guys. Come on. Not that I'm suggesting any of you out there would do that, but you don't moderate my comments section, so let's see. While researching, Zemnu from the Magic Planet asks, while researching for the series, is there anything you learned you didn't know before? Ooh, I can't think of a specific example. As I said, I always go for first-hand knowledge, so it's things that I've experienced myself. So, I mean, I'm sure there must have been something, but it's probably like a minor fact, like the name of a precise individual responsible for creating or crediting or something like that. As far as, because it's just the basics, it's just the broad strokes of media. I don't dig down into the tiny little specifics too often. So that's where the secrets lie, it's not nothing. I'm sure there must have been something, but nothing really comes to mind. And that makes me sound like a bit of a tool, but what can you Sorry, I've watched all the cartoons and read all the comics. I'm a nerd. Mike Murray says, "Can you say Devil Zed for us?" There you go. Just did. I'm glad so many people are able to watch and enjoy these videos with my accent. I wonder I don't have a particularly thick Northern Ireland accent as far as these things are judged. Obviously, it's still a very apparent accent to people from outside the country. But when I worked in retail, and whenever I would have to deal with tourists, many tourists would often comment that I had a much clearer way of speaking than other people from my town. So I'm glad that still manages to come across even in YouTube, even in scripted video form. But if I have to see one more comment of somebody going "Child in the comments or questioning the way I say Puma or power, people in other countries sometimes pronounce things differently. Oh, that's very nice. Thank you, Dazatron, to say love the accent. A lot of people, maybe it's the sheer uniqueness of the accent. Like I certainly I don't think there are any other Transformers YouTubers YouTubing with a Northern Ireland accent, so I got that going for me. Oh, here's why it's cool. Just said, discovered your old Japanese series commentaries recently. Yeah, I mentioned that one before, but if you didn't know, I recorded audio commentaries for the DVD releases of Headmasters, Master Force, and Victory here in the UK. I'd love to do those over again, because that was 15 years ago or more. And the stuff we've learned about those shows since, largely, as a consequence of finally getting them on DVD and being able to watch them fully subtitled and translated. Yes, some of those are still. I remember I still have quite personal regard for the Master Force ones. The other ones, but I'll do those over again sometime. It'd be nice, you know. Have you considered, Jesse Cartilage asks, have you considered doing a basics on the various crossovers the Transformers have been involved in? Yes, that one gets asked quite a lot. I'm repeating some questions that have been asked in the previous stream because, hey, you weren't all here for it. I might as well. Crossovers is one that gets asked for an awful lot. And I don't like to make videos, right, that are just lists of stuff. I always like it when I can try and have a through line, you know, a starting point, and you can show how a character grew and changed as time went on and maybe came around to be based, how their design has grown and changed over time. But with crossovers, it's just a list of stuff that they've crossed over with one after the other. I'm sure there's a way to do it. I said that before. I haven't got there yet. It's definitely on the table. Certainly something that I would like to do, but I don't quite know how to do it yet. Because it was the danger of just being a big list of things one after the other, and I try not to do those. I mean, some of the ones, what was the episode? The Around the World episode, which is one I'm still very proud of. I was very happy with it. That was kind of a listy episode, though not one of my more viewed ones. So I don't know. I'll figure it out someday. Let's see. Mohammed Hussein says, have you really watched every single Transformers show and movie and read every single Transformers comic? Yeah. Well, I mean, not every mainstream major American and Japanese Transformers cartoon. Yeah. Every mainstream American comic and whatever manga has been translated. Yeah. I haven't been able to read untranslated manga or unsubtitled. I mean, all the major Transformers Japanese cartoons have either been imported or fan subbed, one or the other. Like I haven't Transformers. Oh, what's the name of it? Was it Transformers Q, the little super deformed web cartoon to tie in with the mobile re-release of Mystery of Convoy? You know, I haven't seen all of that. But I have read every Marvel comic, every Dreamwave comic, every IDW comic. I don't think have I read every issue of the Blackthorn 3D stuff as a random play? I think I have. Yeah, I'm just a big fat dirty nerd, and that's Q Robo Team Powerflash says yes, that was the name of the thing. What? No, Q was it Transformers Q Robo? Is that it? Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah, I really have. Do you read and speak Japanese? Bishop Tool asks. No, I do not. No, sadly, I've only got to rely on what's been translated. I have like raws of a lot of mangas, the Beast mangas, the Allspark manga, the Henkei manga. Fortunately, miraculously, wonderfully, we live in a world now where Viz Media just officially translated the old G1 TV magazine manga, which is an incredible thing to have happened. But I can't actually read it. So that's one case where, the closest I can go back to the original text on that is looking at the pictures and having to rely on someone else's existing translation or summary of it. Cameron Knight asks, would you ever consider having guest voice basics episodes? I'm a control freak, honestly. I've wondered about that before. It's the same sort of question where people ask if I would have an editor so that I could focus on writing and recording these and leaving it to someone else to put together. Honestly, for me, the editing the video together and getting to work with all the clips and pictures and everything is one of the most fun parts. So I wouldn't want to relinquish. Anyway, so so that's not the question that was asked. I'm a control freak. So the idea of handing it over to someone else, I'm not going to say never. Who knows, years in the future. But right now, no, no, it's not really on the table or on my mind right now. Ryugai 310 just asked one there about the make. On average, how long do you spend in one day working on a video before you have to get up and take a break? Well, too long is the answer. I'm a control freak and somebody who doesn't know when to stop and take breaks. So don't follow my example. I'm bad like that. I probably, God, what sort of day would I? Depends. Well, I could be spending 10 to 12 hours a day some days whenever I've got nothing else going on, and that's not wise or smart or big or clever. But it's me, and I never claimed to be any of those things. Faras Fadila asks, when will you make the basics of Transformers Prime? I'm still trying to figure out if I want to do the aligned continuity first. I've always tried to sort of take the approach that I do the big like for instance, I did a video about the Unicron trilogy rather than an individual video about Armada or Energon or Cybertron, and I did a video about the Beast era rather than an episode about Beast Wars or Beast Machines. And I've always thought, and I did an episode about the Japanese series instead of the individual series, because I've always thought I can then go on and do an episode about sure, like I've done the Beast era, but I can still do a dedicated episode about the Beast Wars cartoon, for instance, or maybe the Beast Wars toy line and cartoon and franchise in isolation, or I can still do an episode about Armada. And so would I do aligned first and then look at the individual series within that? But the aligned continuity is a bit of a different animal because it was a real big project that wasn't it's not the same thing, it's a strange one. I feel like I could do Prime and then do a separate episode about the aligned continuity, and there wouldn't really be a lot of overlap in the substance of the show of those two videos. So I haven't really decided, but episode 140 is a series / continuity episode. I might tell you more about it before we're finished here. So I'm approaching it from that angle. I haven't quite decided yet. I would always definitely absolutely do it. Any and every Transformers series is definitely open for having a video about it. It's just the precise order and just the precise order, and there's so many series. Never mind, outside of even just the big continuity things that I've done, there's still so many more series to get through. I keep coming back to Generation 2. I was gonna do Generation 2, but then I realized I would be I had it in the schedule, but then I realized I was going to be doing 2 series / continuity episodes next to one another. And I'm sure you've noticed I always like to try and space the characters. There are so many characters. I can do a couple of character episodes side by side. But when I do an episode about a concept or a group or an episode about a series, I always try to space those out so I don't do multiples of them in a row. Try and mix it up, keep it fresh. Because the character ones, again, they follow a pattern. That's what results in all these memes and repeated phrases. The Japanese toy line, Diaclone, offlined by a cosmically powered Starscream. Because these things happen, and when it's the basics, you strip it down to it. You get a sentence, you get the one line, and you just use the sentence again because it sums it up as simply as it possibly is. I probably do need to do an episode explaining the whole cosmically powered Starscream underbase. See, that's something I could give a single story arc to. There could even be videos like that in the future where I would look at a singular story arc and say the line, as Robot Lorekeeper says there. I could look at a single story arc and explain the basics of it. What else we got here? Let's see. Do I wish TF Nation was still on this year? As says Sound Blaster 1987. I do, but I'm not vaccinated yet, so and I don't know if I would be even by the time that the convention would roll around, even if it had happened. I definitely, well, of course, I wish it could still be on, but I know why it can't be, unfortunately. And I'm hoping that, they haven't made any big announcements about a live stream this year yet, but I'm looking forward to whatever they've got on, and hopefully I'll be able to put something together to contribute to that if and when it does go ahead. I've seen a few things roll past there asking me about other YouTubers, crossovers, or do I know or do I watch? And I've said this one before in the last live stream, but I'll say it again. I don't really actually watch a lot of Transformers YouTube because when it comes to toy reviews, it's the same as review of a video game or television series. For many people, they want to know about the toy before getting it. But in my case, most often, I already know if I'm going to get the toy or not, and I want my first experience of the toy to be having it in my hand, so therefore I don't want to see it step-by-step transformed in front of me as a video, so I don't really watch a lot of videos. But I always watch Thew. I always watch Thew Adams' Toy Grind, because he always reviews things from all across history, and he's funny too. And TF Reviews Done Quick by Gav Spence as well. So those are basically, I think, the two Transformers reviewers, Transformers YouTubers that I would actually watch. Certainly in the case of those guys, I've wondered to myself, gosh, a collaboration would be fun, but what form would it even take? You know, those guys have their own, they're actually funny, and I watch them and I'm like, Jesus, I wish I could be funny, but I'll just settle for relating facts instead. You know. Crossover 101 says you should really watch some TF stop motion series. You know, I've seen little bits of stop motion here and there. Someone asked I don't have it in front of me, but somebody did ask about what I think about fan art and fan fiction and all that. I'm 100% for it, but I don't consume a lot of it. I don't really read any fan fiction, and that sort of extends then to not watching fan written stop motion series or animated series or anything like that, but you know, certainly fan art, I'm all for it. I mean, I don't even know how you can not be for that sort of thing. You know, some of the happiest moments I feel like I've had as a fan in the last couple of years has been seeing the new generation of fan artists who came up through IDW over the last couple of years, who I've seen join the fandom as a result of the IDW comics and become popular to now be officially working on the books. The last time that happened, it was people my age who grew up with Generation 1 who started working officially on the comics back in the Dreamwave days, and then the early days of sprinkled throughout IDW as well. It's this big sea change that just suddenly happened, and you know, that's great, you know. Let's see what else we got. Are you planning to cover crossover one, or was that crossover 101 again? Are you planning to cover Rumble and Frenzy in a single video or two separate videos? I haven't thought too deeply about it, but anytime I have always thought they would probably get the same video. Yeah, I always thought they would be in a pair so that I could explain you know, Firib, and it would all be one condensed tight thing, you know. Zimman2 asks, I was wondering if you're into any other major giant robot franchises like Gundam or Macross. No, never got into Gundam. No, I feel a bit on the outside now. So a lot of people on my timeline on Twitter, and a lot of people got into doing you know, Gundam and Gunpla and everything. I never really got into that. I didn't muck about with Gunpla back in the early 2000s. But I never really got into it. Macross, I like Robotech. Excuse me. Moving on. I'm sure I saw one go past there that I've. Oh, can't see it. Oh no, there it is. Stella Holly asks, "Do you think you'll have enough to do Transtech someday?" Oh God, yeah. Transtech actually was on the schedule again just recently when I was first I put Transtech, then I put Generation 2, and then I took it off because I realized it was going to be next to this upcoming episode about another series. Yeah, no, that's always one that I could do. Yeah, Transtech. You know, we're kind of in a funny spot now with the stuff that the club did, because we're like nearly 5 years out. Are we now 5 years out from the club ending? And it feels like so much of what the club did and what BotCon did is retreating into irrelevancy. All that multiverse stuff, the further we get from it, and the complete lack of impact that it has on anything outside of that, just seems to further highlight how it's growing irrelevancy, even as Hasbro makes toys that now seem to replace a lot of the things that BotCon gave us that we thought was never possible that Hasbro would ever actually make. So it would be nice to go back and shine a light on some of that stuff that's becoming a bit more forgotten, by doing something like a Transtech episode or Is there any? Transtech and Shattered Glass were kind of their two big original universes, weren't they? I can't really imagine myself doing one for the classic verse. Yeah, I'm not sure about that one. Lorcan Nagel asks, any G1 character who hasn't got a Generations figure yet you'd like to see? Well, I suppose the question is, what do you count as a Generations figure? Because I'd like to see a real Nightbeat toy and not just a Bumblebee repaint Nightbeat toy. You know, Nightbeat's the first one that came to mind there for some reason. Windsweeper, not Windsweeper. Who am I talking about? Needle Nose, because he's like lost twice at a fan vote at this point after IDW like bumped up his profile a little bit. Yes, I would really like a Needle Nose. I keep wanting to say Windsweeper. Wouldn't mind a Windsweeper either, mind you. All the Trigger Cons, in fact. But then if they did new Trigger Cons today, they probably wouldn't have pop-out guns, and then it's like, what's even the point? Who's your favorite C-Con? Billy Bones 627 asks. Someone else did ask about what my favorite subgroup was, and C-Con was the first one that came to mind. And it's pure nostalgia. It's the fact that I owned the C-Cons. They were the only team that I collected all of when I was a kid. Who's my favorite C-Con? It's either, right. They're weird characters because most of them are just sort of generic, unpleasant people. They don't have really distinct sorry, I just saw one in there I won't respond to. They don't have a lot of really distinct personalities. Like Scalor is stinky and smelly, so he's Blot, or he's Eight-Face. It's the same personality we've heard before, you know. But then like Tentakill and Jawbreaker and Tentakill and Overbite and Sea-Wing are all just kind of unpleasant guys, and Nautilator is the screw-up. So a lot of it, childhood appreciation of them came down to like what animals they turned into. And I liked stingrays when I was a kid and octopuses. So it's probably either Tentakill or Sea-Wing for that reason. I've said this somewhere before, it might have been on the podcast that I do, but when I was a kid, I liked what I think of now as the bastard animals, the evil animals, snakes and bats and I don't know why mantas, but I guess like you saw mantas be played as baddies in cartoons sometimes. So it's probably either Tentakill or Sea-Wing purely for what they turn into. Let's see. I keep idly hitting my phone as it sits beside me here and bouncing back out of where I have these questions lined up. What are we at? We're 37 minutes already. I only want to go about an hour again. Actually, I thought I would only go about half an hour, but I never feel like I'm answering enough questions, so we'll probably go for about an hour today, folks, if you want to hang around for that. What was your favorite episode of the basics that you have made? John Hubert asks. Favorite episode? Well, the Around the World one I mentioned there a minute ago, that definitely I rank that one highly. The Japanese series, that was a good one. You know, I tell you, I'm still probably most proud of the invention of Transformers one, the 100,000 subs special. That one was like a real mini documentary. That was nearly 20 minutes long. That was it was a lot of work. I really did bust my hump on that one. But I think that's still probably the one, that I'm if I wanted to like show somebody that I put it at like the first spot on the playlist for the channel for like a reason, because it's where everything begins. If you watch that, you'll learn what the Japanese toy line Diaclone is. And then they'll have I always try to give context for everything within an episode itself. So that's why I say the Japanese toy line Diaclone made by Takara instead of just saying Diaclone and not explaining what Diaclone is. I always try to give context for I won't tell you who Optimus Prime and Megatron and Starscream and who the Autobots and Decepticons or what Cybertron is in an episode over and over again, because this is Transformers, you all know that. But when there's young people or new people who don't know the history of the franchise, who might be clicking on these videos because they want to learn more about Transformers, I'm always contextualizing everything. So I say the Japanese toy line Diaclone or whatever, the Japanese original sequel series, The Headmasters. So people will know what they are, even if they've never heard about them before. And yeah, I mean, I understand that it does lead to the... I'll be unkind and call it repetition, but if I'm kind, I'll call it memes. But that's why, you know. Let's see, Sporiop says the additional content is appreciated because it means I can show the videos to my friends and everything is explained. And that, thank you very much for saying that, because that is all I'm going for. And it is very hard to know sometimes from the inside if I am successfully communicating that a lot. Because when I've said the Japanese toy line, Diaclone, dozens, scores of times now at this point, it starts to lose meaning for me. And it's hard to know from the inside sometimes if I am communicating the information as clearly as I possibly could. But then I get comments now and then from people who say they've been able to show them to their parents or their family to help them so they understand a bit better. Or sometimes I get messages from very young fans who, people in single digits, like 7 and 8 years old. And I'm like, and that's wonderful. That gives me life, you know, that gives me energy to move on to the next one, to know that the purpose of the video, all in all, like the core purpose to try and explain this stuff for people who maybe don't know, or old fans knew, that it's landing, that it's working in some capacity. So that's yeah. Let's see. Obviously, there's someone just posted in the Sulochana Agarwal. Pardon my pronunciation. 11 years old. Thank you very much for being here today. It is people like you that I do it for. What else we got? Let's see. Which Autobot have you been most upset to see die in the live action movies? Says Awesome Productions. Oh, that's probably Ironhide, isn't it? When they hit him with the rust and you didn't know it was coming. Well, did you know it was coming? No, come to think of it, I don't think we actually knew he was going to die, because there was that big comic book leak that spoiled the Sentinel Prime twist. But I don't think I knew from that Ironhide was going to die. And that one caught me off guard. You know, it's what, same film, Dark of the Moon. They killed Q, Wheeljack. And I was like, well, yeah, there you go. But I don't know, I was watching that scene, and they have this big, long, pensive slow-mo bit in a Michael Bay movie, wow, where their Soundwave's leveling the gun, or is it Barricade? Anyway, they're leveling the gun at Bumblebee, and Sam's looking up at him from the overturned car, and Bumblebee's looking down at him with his big sad eyes. And I thought for a minute they were going to kill Bumblebee. I just, for a second, I believed it. And I suppose that means that scene worked on me then. That seems so ridiculous to even say now, that seemed believable. But at the time, we all sort of, we all sort of thought it was the last one of the trilogy, and there maybe wouldn't be any more after that. And I thought that maybe if he wasn't going to die, he was at least he could maybe be brought back at the end somehow. But yeah, so what can you say? What can I say? That one worked on me. Let's see. JT asks, are you going to do a basics on LGBT Transformers for Pride Month? I feel like with romance, I kind of covered that topic already. Doing that again would genuinely, I think, just be a complete, almost repeat of the content of that episode. Outside of then, the only expansion I can think to would simply be to list examples of relationships that I didn't already mention in the video, of which there weren't a great many that are coming to mind offhand. So I feel like that topic I've covered that topic up to this point in time. I've covered that topic to the fullest that I really can. Have you had many comments that have made you actually just shake your head in disbelief? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Often. I mean, sometimes it's just opinions, and you're like, well, your opinion is bad, and it's your opinion, and you're entitled to it, but it's bad. And that's usually whining about certainly there have been a few pointing about LGBT rap in Transformers and IDW comics and that, and sometimes there's just crying about the movies, and I'm like, buddy, it's been 13 years. It's been amazing. It's been 14 years since that first movie now at this point, and it's like, move on with your life, find the stuff you like and put your energy into that. That's what I'm doing. Which Transformer's death affected you most out of any continuity? Hayden Raleigh asks. Well, that Bumblebee moment stands out in my mind. Dinobot is coming to mind strongly. But the thing about Dinobot dying, of course, was that I knew he was going to die ahead of time because I did not see that part of Beast Wars until sometime after it had aired in America, and I had got online and learned about it and everything, because the UK airing of Beast Wars was a despicable affair that split in a couple of episodes aired a year on school holidays. But still, it comes to mind, Dinobot. I'm trying to think of another one. Nope, I'm gonna have to go with Dinobot because nothing else is popping in there. Let's see. What's your perspective on the Netflix TV series, and are you looking forward to Kingdom? They haven't been my favorite thing. They've been very po-faced, very serious, very slow dialogue delivery, very little in the way of new or original ideas, certainly in Siege. Earthrise, a little bit more interesting. I kind of like the idea of a Quintesson who goes so nuts that it cuts its other faces off. Giving Double Dealer a bit of the spotlight, but not that there's a lot of spotlight to go around when you're only dealing with 6 episodes. And am I looking forward to Kingdom? I mean, I'm not looking forward to it. It's always nice to see Beast Wars again, but I can't. I'll only know if it was any good whenever I've seen it. I mean, there can't be that many Beast Wars characters in it if the number of new characters that appeared in Earthrise versus Siege are anything to go by. There can really only be a couple more in there. I've got this weird paranoid fear that they're going to do something to make Beast Megatron and G1 Megatron somehow be the same character. I don't know why. I've got this, it's just a paranoid delusion I've got going on right now. But then again, I was happy to see Gavin Hignight, or Gavin Heinite, I'm not sure how the name's pronounced, who worked on Cyberverse. I was happy to see him on Earthrise. And May Cat, who also worked on Cyberverse, is coming on to write for Kingdom as well. And I liked their work on Cyberverse. So I'm hoping that what's in their scripts will be able to come through well, regardless of how the direction or the limits in the animation come through. So we'll see. So what's this? This is May now, so it's only another 2 months or so till we find out. So, I normally like to do a tie-in episode somehow. So, like I did the Allspark. I did the Allspark episode to tie in with the release of Siege, and I did the Bug Bite episode to tie in with Earthrise. I haven't really decided on what I'm going to do for Kingdom yet. There's been a couple of questions in here, and probably have gone past in the chat as well, about doing Dinobot or doing Rat Trap or doing Tigatron. And listen, all of them love Beast Wars, fully planned to do everybody. But just like right now isn't a good time to make a video about a Beast Wars character, because there's a new series starring a load of Beast Wars characters about to come out in 2 months' time that will immediately make any video I do now outdated in a big significant way. So I'm holding off. And I've always I was thinking maybe Dinobot, maybe the Golden Disc, because that was teased in Earthrise. So that might be one to do to tie in with Kingdom. Or maybe the Ark, because the Ark is another big one now that we've had the Titan class figure formally announced. That's one. I haven't settled on what one, but the reason I paused there a minute ago was because I'm realizing that's about 2 months away. I suppose it's the end of July, so it's more like 3 months away. So that's going to be really close to when episode 150 should be coming out. I'm actually going to have to sit down with the calendar and figure out the schedule and make sure there's no overlap, that it doesn't mean like episode 150 has to be the G1 Megatron episode, because episode 150 has to be the G1 Megatron episode, so I have to make sure that it doesn't clash with Kingdom and the planned tie-in episode I have going on for that. Sorry, that's just a bit of admin there live on the stream, So this is the kind of thinking that I have to do about it. Oh, My Little Pony fan Jason says, "Can you do a birthday shout out?" Yes, certainly can, Jason. Happy birthday! I'm glad that you're spending it here on the stream for an hour. Nice to see you. Am I looking forward to the animated Transformers movie? We're talking about the one that they keep saying they're doing, the Cybertron set prequel. Sure. I mean, why not? We know basically nothing about it, and I'm not fully convinced it's actually going to get made, because that's how I approach things. I just sort of don't believe these things until they actually happen. But I don't see that should be. Well, who knows? Might turn out like the other movies, might not. Might turn out like War of Cybertron, might not. Who knows? Well, but I'll certainly go and see it in the theater when it comes out. Would you consider making videos? This is from Jordan. Would you consider making videos that rapid fire update several older videos at once? No, I wouldn't, because I said it in the last one, which was that updated videos were always on the cards. And I said last time that I would probably do some this year, and I still think I will. I just don't know when exactly. But yeah, it's always been in the plan to go back and update some older videos. Like Bumblebee right now is perhaps the most significant one in need of an update. Bumblebee, Shockwave, maybe Windblade, maybe Slipstream. The Quintessons really screwed me over. I did that video, and then within a year, suddenly they were the main villains of Cyberverse and Earthrise, with the first non-alpha Quintesson toys released. They really did a number on me on that one. So that's another one that could really stand an update. I just don't know why. Bumblebee, I think, will be the first one I do it with, but I'm kind of just waiting until those promised Cyberverse TV movies air, because I may as well let Cyberverse end before that. But then I start to get paranoid and start to think too far ahead, because obviously we don't know anything about this Nickelodeon show that they're working on right now. And I would like to believe, I've got the hope in me that it could be a big departure from where we've been before, and that it might star new characters and new ideas and things. And Bumblebee. So what I'm saying is the Bumblebee wouldn't be in it, and so therefore, if I updated the Bumblebee video, it then wouldn't matter if that show came out, because he wouldn't be in it, But I suppose I can't really let things like that stop me from making videos for too long. If you're talking a year and more, it's probably okay to go ahead and make the video. But when it's a couple of months, like with the Beast Wars guys and Kingdom, I leave it for a bit, Let's see. Saw one there that was tying into that, but I've lost it now. Platonics asks, what sort of criteria would you say should be met for a Basics episode to qualify for an update? A character getting their biggest role in years, probably. Punch. I don't know if Punch really needs an update, but it is a shame that the one thing that he's ever truly done, which was his role in the Secrets and Lies miniseries, the G1 Marvel revisitation miniseries, that's missing. Slipstream comes to mind because she then died in the second season of Cyberverse, and she's also starring as a prominent enough character in the new IDW comics. And then Bludgeon, I ended the Bludgeon video by saying he still hasn't made it to TV yet, and then Cyberverse put him on TV. But that is still all that he's done. Like he killed Slipstream, but that was it. And I wouldn't update a video for an extra 45 seconds to say that he was on. So it's got to be a couple of things, like Bumblebee, for instance. Obviously, he's had Cyberverse, he's had War for Cybertron, he's had the new IDW comics. He's had his movie. Goodness, how did I not mention that first? He's had his movie. And it feels like there's even a kind of a little shift in how Bumblebee is being portrayed with the new IDW comics and what War for Cybertron did with him. He's got a bit of edge on him lately. He's becoming a bit outsider, a bit lonery, and the evolution of a character's portrayal. I think the reason I did Bumblebee's episode first after the original batch of episodes was because he was one of the characters who you could most chart the evolution of the character's depiction and the real world factors that shaped that. Whereas the evolution of a lot of other characters is just, hey, they just changed it. But with Bumblebee, there is a sort of there's real world factors. There's the crossover between Hot Rod and Hot Shot that shaped that. But then I look back at that episode and it's like, it's so different to how I shape and structure episodes now, where I source images and video from, that it wouldn't just, like, if I update, in the case of any of these, a lot of these, if I updated an episode, it wouldn't just be the pre-existing episode with a new minute, 2 minute, 3 minutes bolted on the end. In the case of Bumblebee, at least on Soundwave, I see Daniel Tihei, I'm not sure how you pronounce that surname, sorry, has mentioned Soundwave. Soundwave is another one I think I could maybe put an update on. It would be going back to the script and altering the script and the shape of the video. It wouldn't just be the same video with 2 minutes bolted on the end. It would really be 2.0 as a video. JT asks there, and has been asking throughout the stream, I haven't been ignoring you, I'm sorry, are you going to do a Basic Son breakdown soon? I don't know. Soon? Probably not soon. I'll certainly do one eventually, but I'll probably do the Stunticons as a group before I do breakdown. It's the same reason. I had a Patreon sponsor requested Silverbolt recently, and I thought Silverbolt's a funny one because obviously he absolutely deserves his own episode because of Beast Wars Silverbolt. Like, Beast Wars Silverbolt himself doesn't have enough going on as a history to do a single dedicated Beast Wars Silverbolt episode like I did with Beast Wars Megatron, or I will do with Beast Wars Dinobot. But anything that I would describe otherwise for G1 Silverbolt or War for Cybertron Silverbolt or Revenge of the Fallen Silverbolt, so much of it is overlap with the aerial bots that this was the problem I faced doing RC and female Autobots. I wanted to do female Autobots first because in many ways the story of RC and RC's evolution is the story of the evolution of the representation of female Transformers within the brand. And I felt like her story consumes them, if you will, and I wanted to do that first so that then I could take more time working on one on her later. And I have done both those episodes, and as it turned out, giving it a bit of time to do RC, I think they've stood out as pretty independent episodes that stand in isolation and complement each other rather than just being repeats. Because although, as I've said, certain phrases wind up getting repeated, certain things become memeable, I don't like to just straight repeat things. Rarely will I literally just pick up a block of text from one video and drop it into another unchanged. I've done it once or twice because I can't find a new way to phrase anything, but what we got here? What time? Oh God, just coming up to an hour now. We'll only do one or two more then for now. Let's see. What do you think is the hardest basics you've done or haven't done yet? I always tend to go back to the Quintessons on that one. That was a real challenge. Don't know why. Just figuring out the order to get the info into, that was a difficult one. I would say that's the hardest one that I actually made, because the other one that comes to mind is Protoforms. I started writing that. I beat my head against it for a while, and I just couldn't get it into shape, and I had to shelve it for later. But I'll come back to it one day. I've been thinking about it a bit more recently, and I think I see where I was going wrong with it. And it's a big topic, so I need to get back and do that. There's so many big topics I haven't done yet. You need to do Protoforms, need to do Sparks, big things, But then I just did Space Bridges a couple of months ago, and that wasn't a particularly successful video, and I was surprised by that because I remembered the Energon video from like a year ago about the fuel Energon. That was a very successful video, and I'm not sure what the difference between Energon and Space Bridges is in the grand scheme of significance or interest, but Space Bridges didn't perform too hot. And Triple Changers a little while later did good business, so who knows? David Hartles asks, what's your opinion on third-party companies? I don't have much of a one, to be honest. I don't collect third-party stuff. I preferred it when it was add-ons to existing product. It does seem like a lot of them have spent the last couple of years each of them doing the same thing as the other, each one doing their own version of the same idea that then Hasbro comes along and does the official version of a couple of years later anyway. Third party seems to me to be like kind of like a game of and this is speaking as somebody who doesn't pay much attention to it, and so doesn't get into the details and can't speak on it authoritatively anyway. But it always seems like just having to always keep a couple of steps ahead of what the official brand is doing, because they're going to get caught up eventually. So they have to jump in ahead of time, and then people and then I don't know. It just seems like companies tripping over each other. I don't know. I'm going to tell you, it doesn't really interest me. Somebody I shot past there, I didn't see it. Someone asked if I would ever do an episode about him. I don't think I would, purely because I don't have the knowledge. Again, not because it's necessarily outside the scope, but because I don't have the personal knowledge or the interest to do it. Yeah, that's probably not the answer you're hoping for, unfortunately. But I don't have much to say on the topic. Let's see. Well, that's us at an hour now, so I'll tell you what, I'll pull one more out of here if I can find a good one to end on. There's another person asking the same question about, any chance you could cover stuff like the history of bootlegs and the rise of third party? I have got an episode in the works for a couple of slots from now that is, it's got a little something to do with that. I think it could be an interesting one, or it could be one nobody cares about, that are just me that personally interested, that I'm just making for me. A little something. I'm not going to give the game away on it yet, in case I change plans, because that's like a month from now. So many of these are just, will you do the basics on X? And it's like, yeah, I will eventually, but there's no point reading it Oh, sorry guys, it always gets here at the end wherever I'm just flagging now, trying to spot one. Nothing jumping out at me from the comments over in the community tab, so I'll just take a look at the chat and see what we got. What's my opinion on Hot Rod? Does he deserve the hate he gets for killing Prime? No, don't be silly. Hot Rod's cool. He's fine. He didn't kill Prime. He stepped in. It's just the nature of the beast, It's a shame, I think, that Hasbro bent the knee to people demanding Optimus Prime came back, because it's locked us into 35 years of Optimus Prime ever since. There's so little that changes now. I'd love a new series with a completely different bot in charge. You kidding me? Come on, Nickelodeon, surprise me. Bro Icy asks my favorite Transformer. I don't jump to favorites very easily. I'll often single out guys like Ratbat or Omega Supreme or Rhinox, but there's no one single Transformers character that I collect like every, like a lot of people will have their favorite characters, so they'll collect every version of them, every figure, and have a shrine built to them. I've never been like that. So I wish I did have a Masterpiece Ratbat, but I wasn't shelling out for a Masterpiece Sound Blaster to get him. So although I do love that little bugger. Got everybody in the comments who just keeps asking, will you do a basics on this person? Yeah, probably eventually. Yeah, I can't tell you when, but I just, I will definitely. Do I prefer Magnus as a white Prime or just Magnus? Just Magnus, I think. And well, I just saw one fly past there. So the last one I'll answer is, will you give us a clue on what I'm working on right now? Yes. Okay. So, well, I'll not give you a clue. So next week's episode, it's the last Patreon sponsored episode for a little bit. And it is about, it's a sort of a companion piece to the Japanese G1 series video that I did last year. That was just last year. Was that 2 years ago? God, that could have been 2 years ago. I don't even know anymore. And a little tie into the anniversary we're celebrating this year. It's going to be about the Japanese Beast Wars shows and the Beast era in Japan. That is going to be next week's episode. It's a nice, big, sizable one. It's coming together very nicely. I'm very pleased with how it's going so far, and I hope you will enjoy it too when you see it. And then what's coming up the rest of this month? Coming up the rest of this month, there's that one I was just talking about there, about the one that has a sort of a tie-in to bootlegs and third party and stuff. And before that, then there's another Well, what's the other one? Oh, it's a popular one people ask for quite often. A little bit of movie-based content for the one coming after this one. So that's what's coming this month. We've got Bestiaries in Japan, a movie bot, and one about a real-world aspect of the brand and of toy making that has a little bit to do with bootlegs and legalities and things like that, which I won't say about anymore, but I do hope that you enjoy when it comes out. So at 104 minutes, God, time absolutely flies. I think that we will call an end to it there. Thanks everyone for tuning in for another one of these. I guess I've been having some computer issues recently, which is I feel like I would have done one of these more recently than this. I feel like maybe these should be the thing that I do in the off. Normally I get like 3 episodes out for every 4 weeks or 3 episodes a month or something like that. And I'm thinking about maybe trying to make these a more regular thing for the off weeks whenever there isn't a basics episode. So we'll see how that goes. And thanks everybody for tuning in anyway. I'm glad that I'm happy that you all want to look at me and hear my opinions about stuff. And if I can figure out anything else to do for these streams, any other kind of content, I don't see myself ever being a let's player or playing video games or anything like that. But well, if we can figure out a way to have a bit more fun with these, I'm all for it. Whatever we can figure out to do with them. So yeah, thanks for tuning in, folks, and hope you enjoy next week's episode. And I will see you when I see you. Bye.